Hello everyone, we're back. So this section is titled Installment Buying, and we'll see, what they're all what it's talking about pretty soon. Um, this is a pretty tough section. I was looking at the homework problems and they're pretty tough. So I try to do an example of each type, and I think every homework problem you have should be similar to one of these. And then the exam too. If there are any problems from this section on the exam, they'll be pretty similar to at least one of these. So if you can get these 3 examples down, then you're good. And you got these formulas on your note card and all that, then I think you'll be fine. So let's see. There are a few new definitions in this section. First, an installment plan for a loan. It's a way in which the borrower can more conveniently repay the loan on a weekly or monthly basis, or to use some other convenient time period. So that should probably sound familiar, like a credit card is kind of like that. It's sort of like a loan, although I guess the amount changes every time because you're spending more money and putting it on the credit card as you go. But let's see, then there are a few types of installment loans. The first type is a fixed installment loan. It's one in which you pay a fixed amount of money for a set number of payments. So that would be probably more like if you had a lump sum in the beginning, you're taking out a big loan. And credit cards are different. You start out with no debt, and you accumulate debt as you go every month. So the fixed loan, yeah, it's just you had a fixed amount to begin with, and that's not going to change. So it's a lot simpler, whereas an open-end installment loan, it's a loan on which you can make variable monthly payments. Like, a credit card, you can make a larger payment than you have to if you want to. Each month, yeah, and then in parentheses, credit cards are an example. What else do we have? The annual percentage rate, APR, you've probably heard that before somewhere, right? Like on a commercial, low APR for this loan or this car, whatever it is. It's the true rate of interest charged on the loan. The APR provides customers with the ability to compare loans without having to do calculations. Yeah, so I guess if you're trying to buy a car and you go to 2 different dealerships and they say, this will be your monthly payment, and you kind of want to compare, so what you can do is you can compare their APRs, which is the true rate at which you're borrowing the money. How much extra are you going to be paying? And then the finance charge, that's the total amount of money the borrower must pay for borrowing the money. So it's basically the interest, right? And it can be found in the following table. So this table, we'll be using it a lot in this section, every problem pretty much. You got the APR up here, so these percentages right here would give you the APR, and then the columns are representing the number of monthly payments that you'll be making. So every problem should tell you how many monthly payments. Like, I have some kind of installment loan. I'll be making 24 monthly payments, so you'll know which row to look in. Yeah. Then what else? Oh, finance charge. Let's see. Let me write down a little formula here real quick. Okay. Finance charge. Total amount of money the borrower, yeah, okay. So you can always find I didn't change colors. Hello. Okay. Let's see, the finance charge. It'll be, like it said, the total amount of money that you're paying for borrowing the money, which another way to say it is the interest, I guess, if they wanted to phrase it like that. But it'll be total amount paid in monthly payments. And for most problems, that'll be easy. It'll be like they'll tell you, this person's making 24 monthly payments and each payment is $50. Well, how much money are they spending? It's 24 payments of $50 each, so it's 24 times 50. And you're going to subtract the amount borrowed. That's the finance charge, if they ever ask for it. Charge. Okay. So some problems they'll ask for the finance charge, but if you want to use this table, notice where it says finance charge right here. It doesn't just say here, this is the finance charge. It says this is the finance charge per $100 of the amount financed. So if that's what you want, instead of just the finance charge, you want finance charge per $100 borrowed. Wait, borrowed? Finance, sorry. Whatever, finance charge per $100 financed. Well, you're going to take the finance charge, which of course you can use the formula above for it. So it's going to be the finance charge divided by the amount financed. So, how much did you take out in the loan to begin with? Times 100. That'll tell you the finance charge per $100. And then you'll know which of these values in this table to look at for certain problems. So, okay, I think both of those little formulas we wrote will make more sense pretty soon. All right, then what do we have? An open-end installment loan. It's a loan on which you can make variable payments each month. Okay, oh, wait, we already did this. I'm sorry. I put the same definition twice. We already talked about the open-end one. Hello, sorry. Let's see, the total installment price. It's the sum of all the monthly payments and the down payment, if any. Okay, that's good to know. The installment payment is the amount of money that must be paid by the borrower n times a year. And this would be how you find out the payment. But you know what? That formula is so complicated, we won't need it. If that makes you feel better. I think you would need this formula for really complicated problems. But I've looked at the problems that you need it for, and they're too complicated, so I just kind of didn't include them. So don't really worry about that formula. If we used it, oh my gosh, the problems would be terrible. So the very last formula down here, the amount of the reduction of payment, which we call the unearned interest. So like imagine you had a loan and you're supposed to pay it off in 24 months, but you paid it off early. Then you'd wonder, well, paying it off early, how much interest did I save? I would have paid extra if I didn't pay it off early. Well, then you'd use this formula, where U just stands for the unearned interest, the thing you're looking for, N is the number of remaining monthly payments. So, when you paid it off, how many payments did you have left? P is is the principal. So how much did you owe? The original amount. And then V is the value from the APR table above that corresponds to the APR for the number of remaining payments. So remember that V, you're not going to use how many payments that they told you you're going to have to begin with. It's going to be how many payments were left when you paid off the loan, excluding the current payment. So that's good to know. All right, let's see what we could do here. I think example 1's a good warm-up, and then examples 2 and 3 are kind of tough. But yeah, I think if you just kind of follow along with the homework with these examples, you'll be fine. So let's see, the first one, Jamie needs a new roof on her house. The cash cost is $7,500. She decides to finance the project by paying 20% down with the balance paid in 36 monthly payments of $189.40. What finance charge will Jamie pay, and then what is the APR to the nearest 0.5%? Okay. Now, first of all, the confusing thing is they didn't tell us the amount financed. They just said Jamie needs, $7,500, but she's paying 20% down. So I guess if 20% down, how much is left to pay off? Well, 80% of the amount, right? Because she was going to have to come up with 100% of the amount, but if she put 20% down, the remainder, 100 minus 20%, is 80%. So I want to know what's 80% of 7,500, and I can find that by just multiplying the decimal version of 80% by 7,500, and I would get 6,000. So she didn't finance the total amount they talked about in the beginning, because she already put, I guess 1,500 down, it sounds like. So she just owes 6,000. That'll be her amount financed. So what do they want? The finance charge. Okay. Let's see, and we already had, above. The finance charge is, we said, the total amount paid in monthly payments. And that'll be then minus the principal. Or, yeah, did they say principal? Or the amount financed, whatever. Amount financed. There we go. Alright, so the total amount paid in payments would just be how many payments she made times how much each payment was. There were 36 payments times each payment was $189.40. Whatever we get from that, we're going to subtract the amount that she took out as a loan to begin with, 6,000. So I think when you calculate that out, what do you get? I got $818.40. So that was her finance charge, basically, or the interest, you could call it, I guess. Or interest. That's how much the bank was charging her to borrow the money. Okay, now, part B, they want to know the APR. So we're going to have to use the table, but in order to use the table, you need the number of monthly payments, which we do know, 36. Number of monthly, so we know which row to look in. But we also need to know the finance charge. Not just the finance charge, but per $100. Because that's what the table asks for. So we're going to have to use that second formula that we wrote above. Remember, it was the finance charge divided by the amount financed times 100. Alright, so we just found the finance charge, right? What was it? It was $818.40. And the amount financed to begin with was $6,000. So we'll divide those and then we'll multiply by 100, and that should give it to us. Okay, so I've done that. What did I get there? Wait a second. 8.5? Is that right? Alright, let's see. 850, I'm sorry. 850. Sorry about that. Okay, so we're going to look that up in the table. So we're going to see where's the row that has 36 monthly payments, and then which, where do I see the number closest to that guy, 850? And yet you might not exactly see 850, but just look for the number closest to it. And then we'll line it up and see what APR corresponds to that column. Alright, so where is that table here? Okay, here we are. So 36 monthly payments, that's this row. So I'm going to only look at this row. Now I'm going to see which of these values in that row is the closest to 850. I think this guy's the closest, huh? 871. So I'll look up and see way up here. What's the APR? There it is. That must be the one we want. 5.5%. There we go. Percent APR. So be careful. I think it's confusing because you can find the finance charge like we did in Part A, but that finance charge might not be in the table. You have to find, like we said here, the finance charge per $100. So it's this little formula to actually use the table. Okay, now we'll look at example 2. Example 2 says, Anne has a 48-month installment loan, alright, with a fixed monthly payment of, what is it, $83.81. Okay, that's good to know. The amount she borrowed was $3,500. Okay, sounds good. Instead of making her 18th payment, Anne is paying the remaining balance on the loan. Determine the APR, first of all. So, and then they said, hint, use the table. Okay, we kind of already know that. That's the table you use to find APR. And then they want to know, how much interest will Anne save by paying off the loan early? So that's we're definitely gonna use that formula, unearned interest. What was it? NPV over 100 plus B. Unearned interest or interest saved, it's all the same thing. So it sounds, I think it's pretty, well, hopefully it's sort of straightforward. But first, part A, I think what we need to do is find the finance charge first, like we did in the previous problem. So it's going to be, what is it? The, the amount, total amount paid in payments. Amount paid in payments minus the amount financed or the principal, whatever. Finance, whatever you want to call it. Alright, so what was the amount paid in payments? Well, it's the number of payments, which was, I already forgot, 48 monthly payments of 48 times, each payment was $83.81. And then the amount financed was, they said, was it $3,500? Yeah, $3,500. Okay, so if you multiply those guys, and then you subtract the result, you get 522. Oopsies. 0.88. That's what I got anyway. So we're not quite there yet. We're just trying to build up to the APR. Because yeah, in order to find the APR, you have to use the table. In order to use the table, you need to know the finance charge per $100. In order to find the finance charge per $100, you have to find the finance charge. So it's kind of like all these steps just to find the APR. All right, now that we have finance charge, we're ready for the finance charge per $100. And okay, we had a formula for that. It was the finance charge over the amount financed times 100. All right, the finance charge we just found. I already forgot already though. It was 522.88. Okay, got that. 522.88 over the amount financed was 3,500 times 100. Okay, what do I get for that? I oops, sorry. I got $14.94. Alright, that's the one I'm going to look up in the table. So I'm going to look in the row that corresponds to 48 monthly payments. So I should see 48 on the left. And then hopefully I'll see either this value exactly, $14.94, or something close to it. And I'll kind of match it up to the APR at the top. Let's see, so where's that table here? I want to look at the row, yeah, with 48 monthly payments. So this guy. Which value here is closest to $14.84? Sorry, $14.94. That's exactly right, this guy right here. And if I match it up to the top, what APR percentage is that? Looks like 7%. Alright, so we must want 7%. Table gives me... You could just say 7% or actually write it real serious like that. 7.0%. Very serious stuff, you guys. Okay. And then part B, they want to know how much interest was saved. So like we said, we're going to use that formula. It's going to be N PV over 100 plus V. Before I plug things in, I better figure out what all these things are. At the top where we put this formula, we said N is the number of remaining payments. Number of remaining... After, you know, because they said she's going to pay it off early. And it's not including the one she's making it on, so there were 48 payments to begin with, but she's going to pay it off before her 18th payment. So there should be 30 payments left after that. So N is 30, I can start writing that down. 30. And then what about P? What was P again? P is... Oh yeah, P, hello. That's the easiest part, huh? P is the amount that was paid in each payment. Okay, and then V is a little harder to figure out. V, excuse me, it's the value from the table. Let's see, V is the value from the table that corresponds to how many payments that are left over. 30 payments with that APR that we found. So I'm going to try to find out, that's basically that finance charge per $100. So I'm going to try to match up where the row is 30 and the column is 7. Where's that? Let's see, maybe I should use a different color here, because I got a lot of colors going on. Here we go. Okay, so 30, this is the row we want, because, yeah, there were 40 monthly payments, but apparently she's already made 18 of them, so there are only 30 left. I want to match it up with, here we go, the column that has the APR we talked about in the previous part. So what do those match up with? Looks like 9.30. That's the finance charge per $100. That's the one we want. Okay. That's the value we're missing per $100. And that's the V they're talking about. But I think for this formula, V is the hardest thing to find, because you have to kind of think about it a lot. And I already forgot what it was. 9.30. 9.30, and the denominator also has a V. Okay, and I think if you calculate this guy, I'd multiply everything on the top first, and then add the bottom stuff, and then do the dividing, just to be safe. And I think what I got was, the unearned interest was $213.93. And I think those were the only two parts, right? Let me make sure. Yeah. Okay. Yeah, these are tricky. It's like, these problems are so many formulas, and it's hard to remember what exactly to plug in for each formula. And then the table's confusing too. There's just so much going on. Oh my god. But don't worry, there's only one more problem. And if you can do all three of these problems, then you're golden. Yeah, let's see. So example 3, Jeff buys a new motorcycle for $12,000. Fair enough. And what else? He receives $4,500 as a trade-in on his old motorcycle and uses the money as a down payment. Okay. So if you think about it, how much does he have to finance? Amount finance. Well, his motorcycle cost $12,000, but he already put $4,500 down, right? So the difference would be how much he financed, which would be $7,500. Okay, so they didn't really say to find that, but I'm sure I'll have to use it. Excuse me. Okay, and they mentioned that he finances the balance, okay, which is this amount, at 6.5% APR. That's good. Okay, so that's different than the last problem. Excuse me, because the last problem wanted us to go find the APR. But in this one, they're saying this is the APR, and we're gonna have to find something else, I guess. It's fair enough. Okay, and then 24 monthly payments. Good to know. All right. And they said before making his 12th payment. Okay, so he might be paying this off early, huh? So he's about halfway through his loan there. Blah blah blah. What is it? He tries to pay off the loan. So the first one is to use the table to determine the total interest Jeff would pay if all the payments were made. Okay, if he didn't pay it off early. Okay, so they're saying what's the interest? Or the finance charge, I guess we're calling it here, right? Same thing. Alright, so how are we gonna do that? Well, we're gonna work backwards from what we did in part A in the previous problem. So in the previous problem, we know the APR and all that. Oh, sorry, we don't know the APR. But in the last problem, the first thing we did was find the finance charge, and then we went to find the APR. But this time we know the APR and we want to go backwards. So I'm gonna go to the table and figure out, okay, if I had made 24 payments, so I'm looking at the row with 24, and the APR, would they say it was 6.5%? I want to see where those line up. What's this guy? That's the finance charge per $100. So that's not quite the finance charge, which I want. It's the finance charge per $100. And let's see, I'm going to look in the table and try to find that guy. Okay, what row has 24? And column has 6.5. Let's see, I'm going to line it up. It's this row here. And 6.5 is here, so it must be this guy. 6.91, that's the value. That lines up with the 24 monthly payments and the 6.5% APR. Okay. So then if I want the actual finance charge, I can use the formula where we used to go. What was it? The finance charge per $100 equals. That's the thing that we didn't know before, but now we know it. It's the finance charge over the amount financed times 100. It's just this time in this formula we know different things. I actually know this thing on the left side, 6.91. I don't know the finance charge, so maybe I'll just leave it as a variable. And then the amount financed, what did we say it was? 7,500 was the amount he had to finance. Alright, so I can solve this for F to find the finance charge. Alright, so I just need to move everything over. I guess I can divide both sides by 100. That'll move that 100 over here. Divide, you're dividing both sides, blah blah blah. And then you want to get F by itself, so since F is being divided by 7,500, I just need to multiply by it on both sides. Okay, now F is by itself, and it's this thing. 7,500 times 6.91 divided by 100. So 7,500 times 91 divided by... So I'll divide 6.91 by 100 and then multiply it by 7,500, and that'll give me F. Okay, and I think I did that earlier. Where'd I put it? And I got... Okay, I got... What was it? 5, 18, 25. Whoop. There we go. So that's how much interest or finance charge he would have had to pay otherwise. That was part A. That was a lot of work, but it was like we were working backwards from part A from the previous problem. Okay, and then part B, what do they want there? Jeff's monthly payments. Okay, that one's not so bad. Monthly payments. Well, it's kind of like just using logic. There's no formula for it. It's like, okay, he's making how many payments? 24, right? And this is, they're not, I guess, taking into account here that he's paying it off in 12 months. Just, when he takes out the loan, they're saying, all right, this is a 24 payment loan, so they don't know he's going to pay it off early at that point. So they're making the payments right now. It's okay. How much is he financing? Amount financed. But that's not all he's paying. He's also paying the interest. So it's all the money that he's paying, which is the interest plus the amount financed, divided by the number of payments he's making. So okay, the amount financed was 7,500 plus, we just found the interest or the finance charge, whatever you want to call it, 518.25 over 24, the number of payments. We'll add those and then divide. That's 8018.25. If you add the numerator, divided by 24. Alright, what do we get there? excuse me, 334.09 is what I got. So that's how much his payments were each month. Alright, part C wants us to, what does it say? How much money will Jeff save by paying off the loan early? Oh, and then there's part D. What is the total amount due to pay off the loan? Okay, that's a good one. Let's see, what is it? How much money will Jeff save by paying off the loan early? So that was that same formula that we used before. NPV over 100 plus V. Okay, N is the number of payments left. Well, if you made 12, whoops. If you made 12 payments out of 24, then there are 12 left still, right? 24 minus 12. And then what was P? P is the amount being financed. Sorry. That's right. Sorry, P is the monthly payment, which no wonder they asked for us to find that in the previous part, because we need it for this part. $334.09. Okay, and then the V, we remember that was the harder one to find in the last problem. V is the value from the table. The table that corresponds to how many payments are left over after he pays it off. There should be 12 left. Because, you know, there were 24 months minus the 12 that he made payments in because he paid it off early. And then what was our APR again? 6.5. I'm going to find this amount here. What is that? So in the row with 12 and the column with 6.5, that would be this guy right here. Yeah, that's below the 6.5 and to the right of 12 payments, 3.56. That must be the value we want here. 3.56, 3.56. Okay, and I'll calculate that guy and we'll see what we get. And then we're almost done with this problem. Okay, so if you round to the nearest cent, it's 137.82. Okay, so almost done. The last part of this problem wants to know how much would be due if he pays it off after 12 months. Well, it's pretty simple. It's not too complicated. It's the total of the remaining payments. So after he's paid 12 payments, there are 12 payments left. Number of payments left times, how much was each payment? I already forgot. That was part B? Yeah, part B. What was it? 334.09. 334.09. Payment each month. Okay, minus the unearned interest, which we just found, right, was 137.82. Alright, so I just need to calculate that guy and then we'll be done with this section. That's kind of sad, but... Alright, and according to my calculator, I got 3,871.26 cents. Alright, there we have it. So this section is very tough, but yeah, if you kind of keep notes and stuff and keep following along with the other problems, then you should be fine. So thanks for listening. I'll see you in the next